Okay, good morning. We're back in business. Still messing with the sound, so if this looks like a badly recorded spaghetti western, then I guess we're not quite there yet. Anyway, I'm still I'm waiting for YouTube to turn green here. I think I'm on. It says I'm on. It says I'm streaming, but there's a thing on YouTube that shows up or should show up. There we go. All right, so now I know I'm live. So I will get used to this, which brings me to the first topic of discussion. The thing I want to talk about is this constant advice I get from all the quote unquote gurus in doing something as opposed to thinking and planning and da da da. And this has been a fly in the ointment or a bug to me for the longest time, because I see so many stupid things being done that could have easily been avoided with a little bit of preparation or thought or whatever. And yet, I'm struggling because right now, in order to get this going, the whole channel and the streaming and the timing and everything like that, it seems that maybe doing is maybe winning. Now, I spent 4 hours a few days back going through and figuring out how to do the timings and adjust everything, and that all sort of went out the window on the first stream. So it's like, well, okay. So, and then I did another stream and then did some timing tests and whatnot. And I'll probably put a timing test on the very end of this one, which I can chop off later, just to see if there's any drift over time, because that apparently is another issue. So for those of you that are interested in the technical stuff, I've turned off buffering now, because apparently buffering will cause the cameras to drift from the audio over time, and we don't want that. So, excuse me. So that's one of the changes I've made, and I did some tests directly to disk and just tested the timing with them. Now, if I hadn't have done that 4 hours, I wouldn't have been able to do the tests and the adjustments anywhere near as quickly, because I wouldn't be familiar with where everything is and how to move them quickly. So, this one may be kind of a bit of a draw as to whether or not this advice of doing something is better than thinking about and planning and all of that wonderful stuff. So you take what you want from this. There's a definite point in which you have to do. There's no question that at some point you have to get off your behind. Here I am sitting on mine, and do something in order to move forward. After all the planning and the research and all of that is aside. And I think people who have never fallen over a cliff are very confident in just going ahead and doing stuff. Damn the consequences. But I think once you've fallen over a cliff badly and taken months or years to sort of dig yourself out of a hole, that's a completely different story, because they say life is short, and if you have to spend 10 years digging yourself or longer digging yourself out of a hole, I kind of find myself in at one point, that really hurts. So I don't want to be the guru that gives you bad advice. I don't want to be a guru at all. I just want to figure out what works, and I'm more than happy to share that with you. So that's where we are. Now, the other thing, I don't know if that was helpful or not. You by the time you can tell good advice from bad advice, you don't need any advice at all, right? And now, just as I'm doing this, it's going through my head, I gotta talk to the camera. That's a habit that I forget from time to time. This will come with training. This will come with doing, as opposed to thinking about, because you can, all the planning in the world that says you're supposed to talk to the camera doesn't matter if you get on camera and you don't talk to the camera. So there we go. Now, interestingly enough, the foot pedals, the switch, they're deciding that they're not going to work because every time I plug them in, they get a new ID and whatever. Technology is supposed to be invisible. Technology is wonderful when it actually works. It's supposed to be invisible, but unless it is, then it's more of a pain in the arse. So my foot pedals aren't working. So if you see me distracted for a moment while I switch camera views, that's what's going on. And the lesson there is nothing new ever works. You have to iron out the kinks. You have to iron out the bugs. I mean, just ask OC Transpo when they're trains how they're doing with new stuff because it's been years. And anyway, so I'm getting used to the studio. I'm getting comfortable with it, flipping around from camera to camera. Let's try another one here because I have the internal one. There we go. There's another view over here, so we might as well go through all of them. And of course, while I'm looking at this camera, I can see myself talking and the timing is out. So that's interesting, but it doesn't mean the timing is out for you. We need to shift the timing on the recording in order for it to be right on the tail end. So that's just wonderful. And there's the view from the teleprompter. So when I actually have something scripted to say, I got to remember to look into that camera. So there we go. So this is just good practice at moving around and talking to the cameras, and of course, not bumping the table. So I remember why I got rid of this mic. Precisely because every time I touch the table, there's this horrendous thunk. This one's really bassy. It's really good at picking up the bass, which makes it sound like a good mic. So there's that. But every time you touch the table, every time you move, it picks that up as a great big thump. Now, there is a microphone screw jack in it, and if I get a stand, I might do that. And then it disconnects it from the table so I can make a point without blowing out your eardrums. Anyway, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about today is this whole quantum stuff. I see, we're going back to the double slit experiment and all of the suppositions that have been made from that. I don't really want to add to all of that noise, but my particular view, I was watching something from Veritasium the other day, and it is an experiment, an interesting thought experiment. I don't think I want to get into explaining it right now, but part of the conversation was this concept of whether or not you believe there's free will, right? And this comes from, when people get into physics, there's this, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and, which means that, since the dawn of time, there's been a chain of reactions. Everything is predictable. Everything is perfectly predictable and deterministic. And if you've got a perfectly predictable and deterministic existence, then free will is not a thing. Scientists look at something called space-time, not space/time, space-time. In other words, space and time are actually connected. And that, again, that's kind of supports this whole deterministic point of view. And my view on it is that, that is true, but there's nothing stopping a stack of these deterministic universes on top of each other. And essentially the universe that you're in is read-only. You cannot change it in any way, shape, or form. What you can do is by choice, exercising free will, you can choose which one of these pancake stacks you happen to be living in at any split second in time. So in other words, you have what appears to be free will simply by choosing which universe you're in, and you sort of guide between them. So the choices are made on a split second basis now, and this requires phenomenal resources, because it's not like our universe isn't big enough. but now you have an infinite number of universes stacked each next to each other with every decision point for every human being. Now that you know, that one gets interesting because maybe there's not every human being. It's Richard Feynman had this concept that maybe there's only one single electron. Who knows? And it just whizzes around doing everything. Maybe there's only one human being, and we get to populate that one human being to see what the world looks like from any particular point of view. I don't know. That's just my theory. That's my supposition. That's kind of the way that I think about things, and I do that, in with the magic words, which is another channel. I won't get into the magic words too much here, but the idea being that everything is already perfect, therefore nothing needs to be fixed. You just make a different choice, right? So that and then the question becomes, how do you make those choices? And you start going down the whole manifesting rabbit hole and this, that, and the other. Lots of rabbit holes with that stuff. Like I say, my personal view on the whole quantum thing is that you choose to flip between read-only universes, and in the process it feels like you have free will, but you get to experience all kinds of things. Now, some part of you at some level beyond what you're consciously aware of made some choices to put you in the body that you're in, to put you in the circumstances that you're in, so that you get the experiences that you get, and that I can kind of buy that. I understand that. That would make some sense. I don't know that I have any better explanation, but that's just my view. The world is read only, and you just get to ping between them. Now it's interesting that some of the CERN experiments and whatnot. It just, some of that stuff is fascinating. How they make leaps of logic in my mind to assume certain things. I don't know. I think we all make leaps of logic. How do we how do we know what goes on in your mind when you get into alternate states of consciousness? I can't explain what's in my mind anymore to you any more than you can explain what's in your mind to me, right? That it doesn't happen. But we all live in this conscious physical world where we can touch, see, smell things, and if this is an illusion, if this is a simulation, it's just too damn good to ignore. You might as well make the best of it while you're here. Choose what you can, what you believe you can. Make the best choices that you can. Hopefully, be kind to your fellow man. Have some empathy. There, but for the grace of God go I, as they say. I would encourage. I would encourage that. I would hope that that's sort of inherent. It's not in a lot of people. I get that. Everybody out for themselves. But we're getting through the fourth turning. So once the fourth turning turns, then then we get back to the fun stuff. Assuming we survive that long. All right. So that's it. Those are my views on the quantum stuff and getting stuff done now, as opposed to getting stuff done right. I'm very much a get stuff done right guy, but I got to admit there's times where you just got to go and do it, and that's what I'm doing right now. So there you go. Have yourself a wonderful day. I will be back sometime shortly. I'm going to try and do this daily for a while until I get into a better habit. I'm learning how to speak, how to look at a camera, how to do a lot of things, and I'm sure I'll be critiqued up the yin-yang every time I do this, but that's fine. I will learn and improve and grow, and look back on this years down the road and say, that was not fun back then. All right. Have an awesome day, people. Thank you.